Have you ever wondered how reliable our knowledge of our ancient ancestors truly is? Mankind's journey to understanding its roots has been fraught with mystery, intrigue, and a fair share of controversy. It's a tale that begins in the 19th century with the birth of paleoanthropology, the study of ancient human and primate fossils. The first cavemen fossils were discovered in the Neander Valley of Germany in the year 1856. The find was groundbreaking at the time, an ancient relative dubbed Neanderthal man, providing the first solid evidence of our prehistoric ancestry. Since then, countless other fossils have been unearthed across the globe, from the robust skulls of Homo erectus in Java and Beijing to the tiny frame of Lucy, the Australopithecus from Ethiopia, each new discovery promising to shed light on our ancient past. Yet in the midst of this scientific pursuit, several controversies have erupted. The most famous of these fossils, and perhaps the most contentious, is the Piltdown Man. Discovered in England in the early 20th century, it was hailed as the missing link between apes and humans. However, it turned out to be an elaborate hoax, a chimera of human and orangutan bones. This is just one example of the many controversies that plague the field of paleoanthropology, from accusations of forgery and erroneous dating to misinterpretation and overzealous scientific ambition. These controversies have often cast a shadow over the authenticity of caveman fossil discoveries. This raises some pertinent questions. How reliable are these fossil finds? Can we trust the stories they tell us about our ancient past? Are we, as laymen, too quick to accept scientific findings without questioning their validity? The journey to uncovering our past is not as straightforward as it might seem. It's a path filled with uncertainty, riddled with missteps and mired in controversy. The quest for truth often leads us down unexpected roads, challenging our preconceived notions and shaking the very foundations of our understanding. So what if we told you that some of these caveman fossil discoveries might not be as authentic as you think? Let's take a trip back to 1912, to the infamous Piltdown Man Hoax. It's a tale of deception and misplaced trust that shook the world of science to its core. In the quiet Sussex countryside, a seemingly innocuous discovery was made. A skull and jawbone, appearing to belong to the same creature, were unearthed. These remains were presented as the missing link between apes and humans, a creature half man, half ape that the world of science had been searching for. Dubbed the Piltdown Man, this find was hailed as a significant leap forward in our understanding of human evolution. But there's a twist to this tale. The Piltdown Man was nothing more than a cleverly constructed fraud. The skull was human, yes, but of recent origin. The jawbone, on the other hand, was from an orangutan, artificially aged and stained to match the skull. The teeth had been filed down to appear more human-like, and the whole assembly was planted in a gravel pit to be discovered. So why was this hoax believed for so long? The answer lies in the scientific climate of the time. The Piltdown Man fit neatly into existing theories about human evolution, theories that were held by some of the most esteemed scientists of the day. It's a stark example of confirmation bias, where evidence that supports our existing beliefs is accepted without question. The hoax was finally exposed in the early 1950s, over 40 years later, when new dating techniques revealed the true age of the bones. The scientific community was left reeling, a stark reminder of the importance of skepticism and rigorous testing in science. The Piltdown Man hoax serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of unquestioning acceptance and the allure of a neat narrative. This hoax not only fooled the public, but also leading scientists of the time, casting a long shadow over the field of paleoanthropology. Dating fossils accurately is a crucial part of paleoanthropology. But just how accurate are these methods? Let's take a step back and consider the methods conventionally used to date fossils. The first method is radiometric dating, which involves determining the age of a sample based on the concentration of a particular radioactive isotope contained within it. This sounds foolproof, right? Well, not quite. Radioactive isotopes decay at a steady rate, but this rate can be influenced by a number of environmental factors, including temperature and pressure. This means that any changes in the sample's environment over the centuries could potentially skew the results. For instance, the discovery of the famous Lucy, a 3.2 million-year-old Australopithecus afarensis, relied on potassium-argon dating. This method assumes that the volcanic ash above and below the fossil hasn't been disturbed since its deposition. But what if there were disturbances we're not aware of? That could mean Lucy is younger or older than we think. The second method, stratigraphy, involves dating fossils based on their position within the layers of the Earth. The deeper the layer, the older the fossil. But this method also has its pitfalls. Earthquakes, floods, and other natural phenomena can disrupt these layers over time, leading to potential inaccuracies in dating. Consider the case of the Java Man discovered in the late 19th century. The original dating, based on the stratigraphy method, suggested an age of around 500,000 years, but later, more advanced dating methods suggested that Java Man might actually be as much as 1.6 million years old. That's quite a discrepancy, wouldn't you say? These examples underscore the inherent flaws and assumptions in our dating methods. They remind us that science, while a powerful tool, is not infallible. It's a continuous journey of discovery, refinement, and sometimes correction. Given these inaccuracies, it's clear that the dates assigned to many caveman fossils are more estimates than concrete facts. Even if a fossil is genuine and accurately dated, there's still the matter of interpretation. Now, this is where things get really tricky. You see, interpretation is a subjective process, one that is highly influenced by the individual's background, knowledge, and beliefs. Two scientists, equally qualified, could look at the same fossil and come up with completely different theories about what it represents. This is because interpretation is not a straightforward process. It's not as simple as looking at a fossil and immediately knowing what it represents. Think of it as reading a book written in a language that no one completely understands. The words, or in this case the fossils, are there. But what do they mean? That's up to the reader, or in this case the scientist. This leaves a lot of room for misinterpretation and even outright error. Consider the Neanderthal, for instance. For years, scientists believed Neanderthals to be our less intelligent, brutish cousins based on the interpretation of their fossils. But recent interpretations suggest that they were not only intelligent, but also capable of art and language. This drastic change in interpretation occurred because different scientists looked at the same fossils, but interpreted them differently. This subjectivity in interpretation can lead to conflicting theories about our ancient ancestors. One scientist might interpret a particular fossil as evidence of a primitive hominid, while another might interpret the same fossil as belonging to an entirely different species. Now, this doesn't mean that all interpretations are equally valid. A good interpretation is based on sound scientific principles and evidence. But it does mean that interpretation is not an exact science. It's a process that involves a lot of educated guesswork and sometimes a bit of luck. So when we talk about caveman fossils, we're not just talking about the fossils themselves. We're also talking about how those fossils are interpreted, and that's where a lot of the controversy comes from. As we can see, interpretation plays a huge role in our understanding of caveman fossils, adding another layer of uncertainty to the mix. So, where does all this leave us in our understanding of our ancient ancestors? As we've seen, the journey into the heart of our past is beset with more than a few stumbling blocks. The discovery of caveman fossils, far from providing definitive answers, instead often raises more questions than it answers. The Piltdown Man Hoax, for instance, was a stark reminder of how easily swayed we can become by our desire to piece together the puzzle of our past. It served as a cautionary tale against the perils of jumping to conclusions without rigorous scientific scrutiny. Then there's the issue of dating. The age of a fossil can drastically alter our interpretation of human history. But dating techniques such as radiometric dating are not infallible. They're based on assumptions and influenced by factors like environmental conditions and human error. The interpretation of these fossils is another area fraught with uncertainty. Our speculation of these ancient beings is heavily reliant on our own modern human perspective. We interpret their lives through our lens, which can lead to skewed or incomplete portrayals. All these factors cast a shadow of doubt on the reliability of caveman fossil discoveries. They underscore the complexity of piecing together the intricate tapestry our ancestral history. However, this is not to say that the study of caveman fossils is pointless. These relics from the past, however elusive they may be, have the potential to provide fascinating insights into human history. But it's crucial to approach these discoveries with a healthy dose of skepticism, to question and critically examine the evidence presented to us. Rather than accepting interpretations at face value, we must delve deeper, challenge assumptions, and strive for a more nuanced understanding. In the end, it's clear that while caveman fossils can spark intriguing debates, they also leave us engulfed in controversies. The truth about our ancient ancestors may be shrouded in more mystery than we think.